Hello everybody, and welcome to the Pixelogic ZBrush channel. I am Follygon, and tonight we're going to be sculpting on this little shark pup here. Actually, we're going to be doing a lot of posing tonight. We've already done most of the hard work. Well, I think posing's pretty tough too. But we're going to be posing this guy, and just kind of hanging out for the next couple hours, answering some questions if you guys got any. We're just kind of chilling, working on some sculpting, having some fun. Again, I am Follygon. Feel free to just hang out, lurk, doesn't matter to me. Or if you guys have any questions, I'll try to answer whatever I can, as best as I can. If you guys want to check out more of my stuff, you can just Google Follygon. I think there's a link somewhere up here at the top of the screen for you guys to check out more of my stuff. But other than that, I say we go ahead and dive right in and get started on our shark pup here. Real quick, I will shout out the original artist here. It is Lily BZ. You can find more of her work on DeviantArt, or if you just Google LILIBZ, you'll find a bunch of her stuff. But other than that, yes, I believe that is everything. So last week, we were kind of doing the finishing touches to get this to a place where we would be comfortable moving on to breaking symmetry and getting into posing. So I think that's a great time for us now to start doing that. I still got some of the stuff like not attached here, like legs, arms, the head and body are all separated into different meshes, which I actually prefer, especially when I'm going into posing. It just makes it a little bit easier to control everything. And then once we actually pose and get there, then we'll start combining things up and kind of treating it a little bit more piecemeally as we stitch it all together. Welcome, Slime and No Fears. How you guys doing? Finally. That's right. 1 week later. Again with the shark? Yes. Tonight we're going to be posing our little shark pup. Let me make sure we're all good here. I think we are. But yeah, let's go ahead and start posing. So for those that are unfamiliar with the Transpose Master, we're going to be using that tonight. It's up here in your Z plugin menu under Transpose Master T-Pose Mesh. Essentially, the way that this works is it takes all your subtools it's going to run through, grab them all, and put them all into one mesh for you to work on at the same time. Then from there, after you're done kind of making any changes to this, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can sculpt on this, you can manipulate it, you can move it around, squash, stretch. I mean, literally, you can, the sky's the limit. Go crazy. I could break all this if I wanted to, but we don't want to do that. But after you're done making changes, you click on that T-Pose button again, and it projects all those changes back to the individual meshes. Before I want to do that, though, let's make sure that I have symmetry turned off on all of these pieces. Because once we get back and everything's all out of whack, if we start sculpting with symmetry on, we're going to run into a bunch of problems. Cool. How do you select multiple polygroups? Asks render FV. Oh, render farmer? Is it supposed to be firmer? So we have multiple polygroups here. The way you can select multiple polygroups, I'm going to Control-Shift-Click on one polygroup, and then I'll just click and drag while still holding Control and Shift to invert my selection. And then let's say I want the head as well, so I'll click on that and invert my selection again. So now I have two different polygroups that I can work on. You can also, mask these off if you want, or invert your mask and continue sculpting with everything visible. It's really up to you. There's a lot of different ways to go about doing that. Brandon River, what's up? How you doing? First time watching? That's no problem. Welcome to the club. Congratulations. Well, I'm not sure what I'm being congratulated on, but thank you. I appreciate it. Welcome. That answers your question? Awesome. Fantastic. Alright, so I think the first thing we should do, obviously, is just start getting the major twist, or tilt, I guess. More so tilt than anything, right? Of the body. And we're going to break some stuff along the way here. This is pretty common. Don't worry about it, we'll be fixing it later. You gotta break some stuff to fix it. I'd say expect that you're gonna break some stuff once you start getting into posing. It's pretty much inevitable for working on something sculpturally like this. Unless you're gonna take the time to set up a rig and skin weight everything manually, which would be a huge waste of time for something like this. Only necessary if we're gonna have this in some animation capacity, which right now we're not. Alright, let's see. Let's just go ahead here. Try to line that up a little bit better. And I think we need to get quite a bit more tilt coming down our body here. So let me remask that off. We'll get the arms. Let's break this guy. Can hear his bones snapping. We're also going to just lengthen that a little. Try to get that in the right place. Let's see. He's got a little bit of twist going on. The lower body here. I'm using my transpose line to do this. I'm just a lot faster with that transpose line. Love me the good old T-pose line. It's a good tool. Alright, and I think we want to scale up our head and like get that a little sunken in a bit more. He's like kinda got his shoulders raised up a bit from what I can see. So let's just select everything here in our face. And I'm just gonna slide all of that down. Somewhere about there. And this will be a good opportunity for us tonight to begin working on some of these like asymmetrical folds in the skin. I think all that'll be a lot of fun to work on. I always enjoy doing that kind of stuff, and I think it's fun to see. A ton of different ways to go about it. Typically I just use some similar brushes to something like a dam standard, those kind of things. As for our tail, let's see. This is getting all sorts of crazy through here, so we're probably going to have to do some remeshing as we continue to stretch and pull this. So let me just really kind of break this, right? Get it into a good position here. Let's see, that could go out a bit further. Get that length a little closer. And once I get that in the correct place, then we'll start worrying more about our silhouette and how our form is broken here. When posing, I treat it the exact same way I sculpt everything else. You want to think about it in stages, kind of. So the first stage obviously being the block out for the pose. Just get everything kind of where it needs to be. Like I said, it's okay if you break some stuff. It's going to happen. It's almost unavoidable. Just get in there. Get it quickly. Don't rush though. And find out where it all needs to go. I mean, there's a lot here. And then after that, then you can start kind of cleaning up and getting back to a really good position. Then we'll start working on combining all this stuff and getting our juicy deets in there, like our skin folds and stuff. I think these legs could be a bit larger, so I'm going to scale these up. How do you smooth the selection? I believe you're talking the selection. I think you mean mask? Let me know if you're talking about the mask. I believe that's what you're referring to. If so, if you have a mask like this, you can control click on your surface and that will kind of fade out or blend the mask, but you have to do it both directions. So control click, paint your mask or make your mask selection. Control click to blur your mask. Control click to flip your mask on your canvas. And keep doing it. There's also down here under the masking menu a button that says blur mask that will actually blur the mask both directions at once. So that's a little bit faster. I actually have that set up to a hotkey for myself. So it just does that operation a little quicker than scrolling down and a menu and trying to find all that stuff. Awesome. Well, hopefully that answers your question there. Let's see. Do I want to make this head a little bit larger? I think I do. I've already increased the size of it. Whoops, I forgot our teeth there on the bottom. I think we'll go a little bit larger though. It's kind of a weird point for my scale to center on. Let's see. Let's just scale out from the base of the neck. I think that makes the most sense. All right, and let's see. So he's gonna be laying on his back. I mean, we could rotate this so that it's in the correct space here in the scene. It doesn't really matter. There's no up or down. It's all whatever you choose it to be. So I think this is gonna be a good place to start for our really quick basic mask here. I will very quickly make, you know, 1 or 2 more quick rotations here. Let's see. Stuff like bending the ear is going to be easier outside of transpose. But I can maybe start to get that going. It's just starting to warp the geometry really hard, which we are never a fan of, but you know what? We're going to break some stuff. Screw it. Let's just get it going. And let's see. I don't know. Maybe we can move our arms a little bit just to get them so they're not so symmetrical. And we will T-pose back in just a moment. Try to get a little bit of a better rotation there. Something like that. Same over here. Kind of awkward now that these are in the position that they are. Feels a little bit better to me. Alright, let's see. Let's go ahead and T-pose back. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go again up into our Z plugin menu and then click on that T-pose sub T button. Boom. I'll take all these different individual subtools or objects that I have over here and start throwing them over where I had it in my T-posed model. So you can see it's pretty quick, you know, only a few seconds there. What was that, like 11 or something? But there is definitely some warping and twisting and all sorts of beautiful stuff going on here. So we want to take some time to start correcting this. Thankfully, because our mesh is kind of separated and still split up, it makes it so that most of the errors are here just kind of in the body, and I can kind of piecemeal move the arms and legs around and connect those back up after I fix some stuff here in the tail. So most of the work here in terms of just like fixing stuff proportionally is really just in the body. Kind of got off pretty lucky with this character, so take some time to clean that up. And we'll also take some time to start sculpting up some of the areas around like the neck where that's getting a little like, it's kind of like doing a Aaron Hansen kind of neck roll thing going on there. So we'll try to fill that in some. Also around between the leg and the upper arm. I say leg and arm, but I guess technically they're kind of both legs. Let's see. I think this distance could be a little longer. So I am going to manually do this outside of Transpose Master. We could go back into Transpose Master, but I don't want to waste the time to do that. So I'll just do this all at once. Alright, cool. And maybe get some more rotation out here. I'll start doing some more individual changes to these, but just to start breaking up symmetry a little more. Like I said, you gotta block it out first. Alright, let's get some more volume up through here. And I'm gonna turn off the poly paint on this so that I can just see where my form is getting all screwy. Sometimes it's a little tough to see what's going on with all that poly paint. Whew, this is very twisted and stretched down here. So I think what we're gonna do is clean this up a little bit and then do a Dynamesh on it to redistribute our polygons. Let's come through here with our pinch. And yeah, this definitely could use some remeshing. So let's fill this in just a little bit more. And maybe up through here a little bit. The shark puppy is cute. He is very cute. A very cute concept. Again, by Lily BZ for those that are interested in checking out more of Lily's work. She's got a bunch of cool little critters on her DeviantArt. Alright, I don't want that to get too high up, but still want it to be nice and clean. I know it's not clean right now, so we've just kind of pushed and pulled everything every which way. And let's see. I'm not sure if I want to do this now or not. Let me see how this resolution's doing. Might be able to get some of this in here. Let's come through here where we're starting to block out this area where the skin is folding. And let me see how much of this I can get here. Alright, so that's definitely going to need to be tighter, which is fine. Just use my move brush and kind of mush it around a little. And I think what do I want to do with this leg? I want this to be like a little bit more visible. I think I'm going to open this stance up a little bit more. Maybe like move this down a tad. There we go. I think that's starting to work a bit better. And then we'll have to work on making sure our geometry isn't, interpolating into itself or other pieces. It's always something you want to look out for. Making sure that things just feel really integrated together and not really just like stuck on is super important. Hey, I am a latecomer. How long did you take to create this little dude? I just started on the stream tonight, not too long ago. Let's see, like 20 minutes ago. And we're just starting to pose this character. But if you want to see the original process that started from a sphere, you can find that over on my YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Follygon. It's somewhere up here. I think 2, 4, 6. I want to say there are like 3 or 4 videos of me working on this from a sphere to just the blockout. So probably like 8-ish hours, I would say. So something like that. I don't know. I don't remember how many videos. It was like 3 or 4. But yeah, that's with me streaming and like talking through the process and everything. In terms of how long something like this would take me without doing that, probably about like half as much time. I think I consider myself a slow sculptor because I kind of really like to focus in on form and work on stuff for a long time and really pay attention to my silhouette because I think it's really, really important. And I think it shows in my finished work. If you check out my ArtStation, I have a link somewhere. I already have it pulled up. But just taking the time to make sure you're getting, you know, really clean forms no matter what it is that you're creating, whether it's a deer or a dude or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bunch of fun. I take my time with my stuff. It's not a race, right? Alright, I say it is time to Dynamesh, because this is just all sorts of twisted, gnarled mess. This tail is too thick. That was weird. That mask didn't want to mask. Just thinning that out a little bit, and then kind of following that line up. It does get a little more thin through here, so let's try to get that real fast. And then oh, no, we don't want to Dynamesh because I'll have to undo that because I don't have my poly paint on. I would like to keep this poly paint that I did. Might end up redoing most of this, which isn't a huge deal. Let's just see if I can maybe realign this curve a little bit better. Let's try to nudge it with my move brush a little bit. It's a good question, Mochi. I think I'm gonna do the footpads. Probably both. Probably like sculpturally add that information and also poly paint it a little bit. Alright, so back here is where we're really getting that stretching. I want to make sure that this ridge is exaggerated a little bit. Oof. Let's see. Try to follow that line through. And as I'm rotating around, I'm just seeing little hits in the silhouette that I want to correct now rather than later. It's really important that you look at your model from every single angle because we are 3D artists, 3D modelers, not 2D artists. We don't really have the luxury of working from a singular angle. I mean, you can, but you're not going to enjoy the result that you end up getting from it in 3D. All right, so now let's go ahead and Dynamesh this and keep working on it. So now our stretched polygons are no more. Now we have evenly distributed junk polygons everywhere, but at least it's not twisting and stretching, and it is evenly distributed. So that's a little bit nicer for what we're going to be doing moving forward. But yeah, let's take a look at some of our other parts and pieces here and there. Probably start working on our feet and hands a little bit more. I have a lot of this stuff kind of planed out, like you can see this super hard edge here. I would like to start softening some of that stuff. Maybe, since somebody was asking, Toto or Tipo was asking about the paws, if we were gonna paint those or represent them with geometric form, we can probably do a little bit of that now, since we have put that off. Let's see. This is the main offender in terms of really hard, unnecessary transitions, but I kind of needed to square this out while I was working on it. So you can get a nice, clean shape. And I think that's starting to work. Cool. Do that a little bit down here as well. It's kind of an awkward little, it's like a graphic paw print almost, something that you would see in like a kid's coloring book. It kind of fits the style though, so I'm into it. We'll try it out. How to use ZRemesh and keep the poly paint? Well, I'm actually making a video on that, and it'll be up on my YouTube channel in the next couple days. So be on the lookout for that. Let's see. Now, I obviously exaggerated a lot of this, and it's pretty tight right now. Pretty sharp as well. But let's start cleaning that up just a tad through here, just to make sure we don't get too out of hand. Try to get a really nice smooshed look, and then we'll come back through and just smooth some of that out. You know what? Maybe we'll just kind of trim this edge back. Any tips on getting hard edges in ZBrush? Organic stuff is alright, but I really struggle when it comes to hard edges. Yes, I think there are many ways to get hard edges. Let's see. Do I have any examples? Well, I just got rid of some hard edges that I had in my feet. So very quickly, let's look back at our feet. Run a couple undos through here. So I have this hard-ish edge, right? I can make this even harder. I'll be using the pinch brush, and I have a lazy mouse turned on. And I'll just be coming through here, and actually, let me work on a clone of this one. And then step back up. There we go. Cool. Okay. So here's our foot. We got this kind of transitioning planed out piece. I recommend, excuse me, I recommend using stuff like the Trim Dynamic brush or H-Polish brush if you're trying to create kind of a flat, planar transition. But if you're working on a more complex shape like this, I recommend the Trim Dynamic brush specifically. And then you can use something like the pinch brush to come through with like lazy mouse on, like what I have right now, and start pinching this edge and starting to get a nice, sharp, hard transition between there. Let me switch my material and color so you can just see what that form is starting to look like. You gotta be careful with the pinch brush though, because the more you use it over time, it starts to get to a point where the geometry starts to pull in on itself and get tighter and tighter and tighter. Let me show you what that looks like. See how it's kind of pulling in there? So the more that happens, the more your geometry and topology start to warp in. Eventually you'll have to run a Dynamesh and do some form of Z-remeshing, projection, something like that. That'll be part of the tutorial that I was mentioning about projecting paint and all that. And it's coming up on my YouTubes here soon. But yes. And then for stuff like this, for like getting a hard edge in like a negative form, so like getting a concave surface to have the same thing, you can use the pinch brush as well, but you want to hold the Alt key while doing it. It'll give you the opposite effect from what you would get on a positive. So think of it this way. The Z add version is for up and out, and the Z sub version of that brush is for in. So getting a nice pinch or crease along an edge like this. I can maybe make my brush a little bit smaller and make that a little bit more effective. I also enjoy using stuff like the Mek brushes. There are a few of these that you can find online for free. They're really nice for creating some really sharp, hard edges. But yeah, there's a bunch of those. I have tons of stuff for hard surface sculpting over on my YouTube channel as well, if you guys are interested in checking out more on that. can you recreate Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon? That would be a fun character to sculpt. I know some people that made some toys for How to Train Your Dragon, but I've never had the opportunity to work on the property myself. Let's see, did I miss anything else while I was rambling? I don't half understand what you're saying. I am Russian. Well, no problem. If I say something a little too fast, or if I don't explain anything very well, just tell me to go back and I'll try to do a little bit of a better job. Why are you using Lazy Mouse with Pinch? Because it's much easier to control when using Lazy Mouse. And no problem, Rainy. Happy to help. My main squeeze, my mainy Rainy, as we like to say here. That's what we say now. All right. Let's just do the foot pads really quick, and then we'll kind of get back up on the body. So for those foot pads, let's see, what do we got going on? I'll just use my mask pen. It looks like a pretty simple shape, like I said. So got like the basic circular pad. That might be even too big. I think it's fine. Then we'll just leave it for now. And then we just have a few dots out here. This seems very representative, very rudimentary. What's the word? I don't know. Like a cave. What are cave paintings? What's that called? Can't think of it. That's not a problem. All right, so something like that. And then what I'm going to do is run an extraction. So we'll just extract. It's probably a little too thick. That looks too thick to me. All right, let's drop this down. Sure, something like that. Click on accept, and voila, we have the beginnings of one foot pad. Let's sample that color really fast. Fill that in. Make sure our mask is cleared on this newly extracted geo. And how do I want to do this? Let's run a quick Zremesh with keep groups on. So Zremesh, keep groups on, target poly count of 1. All right. Honestly, I think I could lower the poly. You know what? We'll keep that. Let's keep that for now. Whoop. All right, so from here, I'm gonna add a couple subdivision levels and also use my deformation inflate slider to poof that out. And I'll also just do maybe some quick smoothing on a few of these. I probably shouldn't use the alternative smooth, which I was using there for a moment. For those that are unfamiliar, you can use the smooth brush and then let go of the shift key. Here's a perfect example of how that is different from the normal smooth brush. So this is the normal smooth brush, and then if I smooth and then let go of the shift key, see how it's kind of changing the way that the smooth brush interacts with that? Kind of like pulling it out. It's because the alternative smooth brush does kind of like a normalization of the surface. It's just a little bit different. It just depends what you're doing it on. Try it out, and you'll figure out some good uses for it. I'm gonna make these, zoom out please. What's going on? Come on. I am probably going to merge those into the foot. I don't like the way that it's transitioning though. I don't like it having this hard edge here where it's just like flat and then directly into the foot. So by merging that in, we'll actually be able to blend that with a smooth brush and get a little cleaner result. I'm gonna push these in a little bit like that and then inflate them again. This time I'll just inflate with my transpose line. And I would like to make this a little bit lighter. Let me sample that. Make sure that that's filled in, and now we'll do this. Set our RGB intensity down and just click on fill object a few times here. I like that. We'll stick with that. All right, and instead of making this a second time, what I'll do is duplicate, mirror, and just slide it into place really quickly. And I could duplicate and mirror the entire leg, since I don't think I've made any large bends or anything like that. Should be relatively the same, but I think we'll just do this really quick and it'll be fine. Beautiful. Alright, let's just line that up a little bit better. And maybe just like move it up here. Sure, looks great. Alright, now I want to merge those into the feet and kind of blend the transition. But before I do that, I think I want the toes to be, it's either a little bit shorter or a little bit rounder or some kind of combination of the two. I'm gonna try rounding these out more first and seeing if that helps with how they're feeling. Right now it just feels a little too much of a sharp transition down here. Ugh. Starting to feel a bit better. Alright, let's do a little bit more pinching. And then we'll merge this together. Let's get the other one real quick too. Quick little blend, transition, beautiful. And then from here, we'll probably work on the body a little bit more or work up on the hands. But I really think posing is a ton of fun. It can be tough, but as long as you did most of the heavy lifting in the earlier stages to really get your character into a good place in the neutral, I think posing can go a lot smoother and be a lot of fun. I enjoy posing my characters up. I try to get as much gesture as I can in the neutral, and I think that also helps once you get to the posing stage, like where we are right now. Let's take our feet. This one is actually sticking out quite a bit more now. Let's go ahead and get these all working together. And then I'll probably be merging the leg into my body here soon. Did I rotate this on accident or something? It's like really sticking out there. Tipo says, do you do retopo in the end? Retopology? No, not manual retopology. Not for something that is posed already. The purpose of retopology, of manual retopology, is to get something ready for animation. A lot of the time for a real-time asset, or even for something that you might be trying to render, or for something that might be in an animation that's not moving, you wouldn't even do manual retopology. It's kind of a waste of time. You could get away with some decimation if you need to, and probably get a lower poly count on the object as well, representing the form. Decimation's pretty good and pretty fun to play with. You can actually get some really cool, like, low poly effects from it. Let's merge these now. So just merge down. Let me delete my subdivision levels. Our poly paint's kind of all over the place here. I'm looking at this. Let's see. little awkward connecting up here. You want to make sure that your objects, even though they're not connected, are still blending well. So looking at the silhouette here, we have a little bit of a dip in here and then a flow into the body if we're looking at the silhouette. Over on the other one, it's much stronger though. So we're probably gonna have to do some positional changing and a lot of blending between the body and that leg. This one will be much easier to deal with, but the other one maybe a little bit tougher. That's all right. Let's dynamesh these feeties together and call it a day on these legs for now. Let me see, double. Just set it, or you know what? I'm not even gonna need the polygroups on this, so it doesn't matter. Let's just do a quick dynamesh. Go a little bit higher res, because we're starting to lose some of the information there that we took some time to sculpt. Beautiful. And now, by default, RGB should be turned on with your smooth brush, which you might want if you're trying to like soften or blend between two colors. A lot of the time though, I kind of like doing that manually, so I'll just smooth with the smooth brush without RGB on, and then I'll come back later and try to blend some of the paint if I need to. But for something like this, I kind of just wanted a nicer connection coming from that padded geometry onto the actual foot. It just felt a little, like I said, really like a sharp, stiff transition. So these are kind of, they feel really awkward, but I mean, it's there and we're sticking with the style. I think it works. Right now, just looking at them by themselves, they feel a little odd though. But we'll play with them more as we go. All right, let's do a quick remesh on the body, and this will actually give me an opportunity to show, someone was asking about keeping color or texture when moving from something that's dynamesh to something with subdivision levels. So I will show how to do that really quick. What's going on, Tyler? Welcome to the stream. All right, so here on the body, we are going to remesh this and keep the texture. I believe I was doing this earlier, so it's not going to give me the warning message, but I'll try to mention it where it should pop up. So I'm gonna hide everything except for the body that I'm working on. I'm gonna duplicate that, and then I am going to run a Zremesh with a target poly count of around 3, I think should be fine. This is down in your Tool Geometry Zremesh menu. So remeshing our body, give it a few seconds here to catch up. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the Tool Subtool Projection menu and click on that button in there with just the default settings. And what that will allow us to do is take all the form and color information and project it onto our new mesh. So here is the Zremesh topo. Now I am going to go into Project, click on Project. It should ask you at this point if you want to project color data or polypaint data. Just click on Yes or Always Yes. And I'll subdivide, I'll project again, subdivide, project again, and just repeat that process a couple times. There are only 2 meshes visible right now, which is why this is working, just for projecting from one body to the other. If you want to project from another mesh that's a completely different shape, you can absolutely do that. They don't have to be even the same form. But I'll be showing off this process in detail, again, like I said, over on my YouTube channel here soon. So if you guys want to know some more tips about projecting and stuff like that, be on the lookout for that one. But that is how you do that very quickly. And I apologize because I forget who's asking about that. And the chat has gone past from what I saw. Alright, let's continue shaping up our body and getting a little bit more clean up through here into the folds. So what I like to do when I am starting to create my folds, I like to think about it like anything else when you're blocking out the shape. Think about the bigger form, the larger, most basic primitive shape here, which is essentially just a tube. So that's what I'm trying to sculpt there on the surface, a tube. And then from there, it looks like my tube is pinched a little bit too much, so I'll just trim it back a little bit. And that's actually starting to feel a lot closer, and then it looks like as it gets up through here, the surface starts to actually turn in a little bit. So I think I'll maybe try to get some of that going on. And this is a perfect time and place to mention a principle of sculpture, as well as drawing, called edge quality. For those that don't know, edge quality is the idea that if you have a stroke or a line or really anything, you don't want that stroke to be the exact same throughout the entire length of the stroke. So instead, when I sculpt, I don't just go, 1, 2, like big old caveman strokes. Instead, I try to fade in from a stroke and fade out. So I'll be a little bit lighter and then a little bit stronger, right? And then fade it back out towards the end. So you end up with this nice kind of curvature to your stroke. And it's stronger in the middle and less so on the beginning and ending of that. Well, that's also true for just your form or your lines on your character in general. So for stuff like this, I have pulled this really tight line all the way through, and I've continued that and started to let go with my pen as I went. And then I'm also taking time to kind of like fade that out and transition that into the rest of the form here. So this is the kind of stuff that you want to look for when you're sculpting folds, whether it be on flesh or clothing. And some of these lines just aren't going the right direction. So we'll take some time to fix that up. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I'll add a fourth one here. I'm going to have to adjust the position of my leg a little bit. That's all right. Actually, let's just turn off the arm. That'll make this a lot easier. And then for the leg, I am going to taper this back a lot. Except our subdivision levels on our legs are gone, so it's hard for me to manipulate these to high res. So let me get those back really quick. Mochi says that might be an easy way to create a clean, low poly for baking. Yes and no, depending on what your purposes are for. So if you're just, if you're trying to do something for animation, probably not. You're probably not going to get animation level topology out of something quick and automatic, whether it be in ZBrush or Maya or whatever. No automatic process is going to give you the exact poly loops that you want or need. But for something quick, sculpturally, I think it's amazing. You can get some really high quality edge flow out of Zremesher, especially if you use it in conjunction with Polygroups, as well as a couple other tools, such as Zremesher Guides, which is a brush that you can use like a curve brush to draw guides that you want Zremesher to flow in. So if you want an edge loop around your ankle specifically, you could draw out, whoops, make it a little bit smaller. Just like in any curve brush, you can draw out your curve, hold the shift key, and voila, I've created a perfect loop around there. And now when I Zremesh will look at that and say, hey, they want an edge loop there. So let's try to get that working. All right, let's try shaping up and working on this connection a little bit more. These are the important things. Making sure it looks like what we see in our reference. Right? Who would have thought? Gotta make it look like the character? What? Wait, hold on. I've been doing this wrong the whole time. And this is actually, I am joking, but at the same time I am being a little serious, because a lot of the time you really do have to just look at your concept, and people that are new, I feel like they're still in that kind of representative area, and they're not really looking closely enough, like studying the thing that they're trying to create well enough. So you get, it's kind of like, the extreme version of that would be, you know, drawing a stick person to represent a human. The kind of lesser version of that would be, you know, me, yeah, sure, I got the leg in there, like, oh, that's good enough, right? Well, good enough, like your teacher used to say in school, good enough isn't. Sometimes it is, but at least for me, it's not. You gotta, and for your client, good enough probably won't be as well. So you gotta really focus in on this stuff and get it as close as you possibly can. And I think this line is far too long, not curvy enough. So let's bend this down a little bit and just transition that a little bit faster out. And if you're working on something like this, whether it be folds or whatever, and your poly paint's getting in the way, just toggle it off. I find that it's much easier to just toggle stuff off and switch on back to my sculpting material so that I can see a little bit better. Getting a little messy over here. Alright, let's make sure that this is blending properly up top into our arm and neck. Seekage, what's going on? It says super clean. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Alright, so we're starting to get some of those skin folds a little bit nicer. I think I'm going to go through there one more time and really try to exaggerate the depth here. You know what? Let's switch our brush. You know, I'm going to reverse that. Should have made my username like Mr. Clean's cousin or something like that. Or I should shave my head or something. Gotta show my support to the clean form sculpting lovers out there. Alright, so I wanted to exaggerate some of that a little bit to get just a quicker, stronger shadow in there. What's going on here with our legs? Our material's being dumb. But that is feeling quite a bit better to me. I would probably still take the time to like, ooh, whoa, that was fun. Move this up. Some of this is going to have to wait till I blend in around there a little bit more. But that's starting to feel a little bit better to me. And then up here around the neck, we pretty much have the same thing going on. So let me turn off my arms and sculpt in some of that form next. So it's pretty much just a neck roll, so we're just following the line, coming around here, up and around. And then we'll take some time to work on that and inflate that. Don't try to get it perfect on the first stroke. You're just going to sit there and make a stroke and then undo it a billion times. No reason to do that. Oops. Try again. Keep sculpting on top of it. In all honesty, unless I like really screw something up, I don't really use the undo or Control Z very often. Like unless I accidentally do something like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll undo that. For the most part though, you can correct most things just by sculpting / noodling on it for a little bit. I recently found you on YouTube as Follygon. Do you have your own channel? Yes, that is me. I also stream on my Twitch channel, which is just, you should be able to find it just by Googling Follygon, but it's twitch.tv/Follygon with an underscore at the end. I used to stream every day, but I'm working on this really big course right now, and it's taking up a lot of my time. So currently I'm only streaming on Fridays at noon EST, that's Eastern US time, and I do live critiques. So if you guys are interested in getting something critiqued, go on over to my Twitch channel, and there should be some instructions for how you can get that critiqued on there this coming Friday. But yeah. Got the old Twitcheroo, the YouTube.com. I got the Twitter. I'm on the internet like everybody else. Alright, I don't really like using the inflate brush too much, but I'm going to try it out here. Let me eat my words. I say try it because I typically don't like the results that I get, but I'm just going to use it and like what I get. Oh, it's perfect. And by perfect, I mean let's go over it a few more times. I want that to be, oh, there we go. Now it's starting to feel like a little fat rolly. Alright, so again, remember that edge quality thing I was talking about just a moment ago? Here's an area where I've like exaggerated and pulled this line really far down. And I'm pretty much going to fade most of this out through here. So now we can start to get a nice kind of starting point for that. And fade it back out as we get up here. This doesn't really matter so much because the arm is connecting there. I'm not like, and it's never going to be seen, so I'm not super worried about it, but I'll still just do some like quick blending up there. Just be careful when you're adding on form on top of something else that you're not breaking your original primary form. It's very easy to do that. Just make sure you take a step back after you do something. You can see how my surface is like dipping in there now. It's because my primary shape underneath of like the ribcage / body is starting to bend and tweak, so I need to go back to that most basic shape and fix that. Starting to feel a little bit better. Turn our head back on, take a look. pulled this down pretty far, pretty wide. Should probably turn that a bit faster. So let's take a look here. Give an old quick mask. Make some corrections here. Leanin', what's going on? I like your work. I don't sculpt since I use Max at my school, but watching you still helps. Good stuff. Keep it up. Well, thank you. Appreciate the kind words there, Candy Face. Some of our geometry's getting a little crazy and stretched down here. It's alright. Make it work. Alright, try to correct some of this. Remember, like I said, the more you use those pinch brushes, the more stuff starts to warp your geometry. That's okay for this though, because I will be merging my legs and arms into the body later on, so it's not like it's a huge deal. Not too beat up about it. All right. Plus, a lot of that is covered up by our hands being in front of the body there. And that also means that we need to scooch some stuff around, make some room. Don't want that geometry flowing into each other. That always looks silly. That's okay if the arm is pressed up against the body, because then we can like squish in the flesh around there. So that's okay. As for the other arm, they need to be like tilted down more. And probably shorter, if I'm not mistaken. It's a combination of those two things. You know what? Let's just get the bend first. I'm looking at where the top of that wrist is. It's actually quite a bit higher than what we had there. Let's see. Sometimes I'll just use a big move brush and push and pull my stuff around until I get it where I need it. And for this other arm, we'll do probably about the same thing. I mainly use that mask lasso a lot, for those that aren't familiar with it. It's an awesome tool. I use it in conjunction with the default mask pen. They're both really nice, but the mask lasso is just really fast for some quick selections. Let's see. I think we need a little bit more twist. And just pull you out a little bit. Awesome. Well, there's still a lot that we need to tweak here, but that's starting to feel a lot better. I'm thinking... I'm wondering if it would be easier to merge our arms and legs into the body now, or wait until I sculpt some of the secondary form on those, like the folds, stuff like these, and in here in the creased areas. I think it'd probably be easier to wait. I'll merge down this bottom, his bottom left leg. Let's see. Just so we can see the process for one of these, because this one doesn't have a ton of folds going on with it. I think it'll be fine for this one. Just so we can see the process for this. So currently our body and our legs are separate pieces of geometry, but what I'm going to do now is take my body and merge it down with one of my legs. So there we have one of our legs attached now, and I don't know, the leg is probably a little too long. Maybe that's about it. It's pretty close. Most of the changes here that we can make, we can do later, but I think I'll do this one really quick. Pull that up a little bit. And whoops. Let's just get a little bit of a lower poly count there to work with. So that was a pretty bad move on my part. All right, what do you guys think? Look good? Ready to merge? If anything, I might rotate this a little bit more. Let's make sure that the back portion here is connected up really well. Getting a nice flow there. It's a little bit of a hard hit, but you know what? I think we'll take it. All right, let's do a quick Dynamesh on this. Probably around 500 to 1000. If that res is good. I think that resolution is good. So from here, what I typically like to do is use something like a trim dynamic brush and start blending between my newly transitioned geometry. So let's turn off our poly paint just so we can see the form here and what we want to do. So trim dynamic, holding that Alt key, start to work on blending between these two areas. For the back of the leg, it's going to be a little bit of a softer transition. For the front, it will be a little bit tighter, but I mean, in this leg, it's actually a pretty nice, clean transition. Has a nice flow to it. Over on the other one, it's a little bit tighter. So for something like an armpit, or in this case, a leg pit, you probably want to keep that form a little bit tighter than what I'm attempting to accomplish now. Let's work on this a little bit. Get that to a nice level of blending there. And it is rough. That's all right. Really easy to fix later with some lower poly count. Which we can grab right now. Then we'll do a quick projection, and I think the leg will be good. The only real thing other than that we need to do to blend that, oops, hopefully that doesn't crash on us, is worry about that poly paint and how that's kind of blending through there. Azuz, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. All right, there we go. Quick projection now. And I think we'll be good to blend that leg even more. I'll probably use the clay tubes brush a little bit as well. I'm noticing that we're getting some awkward shadows through there, and I think we just want to build up and inflate the volume a little bit more. Pretty simple process though. I don't think it's too crazy, and once you understand the tools and how they work between jumping back and forth between Dynamesh and remeshed Zremesher topology. I think it's a pretty simple workflow. It's just a matter of getting to the place where you can kind of control your form and also, you know, see your form well enough to understand what you need to create. And hopefully we don't crash here. There we go. Let's do a quick save to make sure we don't lose anything. Alright, so we will be doing this to the rest of our limbs later on, but let's kind of sculpt this up a little bit. Again, that clay tubes brush, great for just kind of filling in some volume, blending here. I think that's starting to feel nice. It's actually got a nice clean swoop coming down here, so I need to fill that in a little bit. And back here, I am going to fill in a lot of this information. Try to get a nice, clean blend here. Really looking at this from the silhouette. Remember how they had like this really tight kind of, it was kind of like a letter M shaped silhouette blending through here? You really want to get rid of almost all of that. You can actually see that in the other leg, how that's kind of connecting up there. You start to get this really tight silhouette break between your polygon islands. And that's not what we want. Much better, much more clean as well. Probably stand to fill in a little bit more of that maybe, or just kind of transition that from the body a little bit better maybe. I think that's pretty close. And then our poly paint, which is an absolute mess right now. That's okay though. Turn off the lazy mouse for a little bit. Let's see. Kind of wrap that down and around a little bit better. Do the same thing down here. Just trying to rotate around, make sure that I'm getting a nice clean line through here. And I know something like this might not be seen, but at least for where that's like kind of connecting up through here, just so I can figure out that line a little bit better, that kind of stuff helps me a lot. Beautiful. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing to the rest of our limbs with enough time here. But we probably want to get some of the folds and some of the more distinct shapes in there as well. Noticing that the position for our elbow is lacking, not where we need it. This is the kind of stuff that you really want to look for. I was talking about kind of being a little bit more representative earlier, and this might not seem like a big deal to a lot of you, but it really is. This is the kind of stuff that really matters. For example, there's something on the front page of ArtStation right now, and I'm not pointing this out to, you know, say this person did a bad job on this, but I'm not sure. So this is a sculpt by Alex Negria. I'm not sure if the original 2D art is by them. I'm not positive, but if anybody knows, I'm guessing Alex did the original 2D sketch. I'm just seeing the condom wrapper thing up there. Nice job, Alex. For example, moving from 2D to 3D here, just looking at the silhouette, kind of flowing up and around here for this hair, it's just a completely different shape than what we're seeing for the hair here. A lot of the larger shapes are there, but it's not matching like it is here, and I think it loses some of the 2D appeal that was in this really cool silhouette. I mean, not to mention that there are some other things that are different, colors and some other forms that are added and, you know, just not represented here, which is absolutely fine. I'm not saying that this person was going for complete accuracy. Again, I'm just using this as an example of some of the stuff that is really important when you are trying to copy a 2D concept as accurately as you can. Again, that is a sculpt by Alex Negria. Go check out some of his stuff. I'm not sure if he did that sketch. It looks like he did. It looks like he did do that sketch. So he's got a bunch of cool stuff on there. Go check him out. But that's what makes me think of stuff like this. If we're looking at this arm, we want this line to wrap around here a little bit better, get more of a curve. So the most simplistic way to look at form is line. Line makes up form. So when you think about it, line is actually pretty important. The silhouette of the shapes that you're trying to create is very important. So we want that to be something that we really look at. So let's try to get this a little bit more accurate. And I think to do that, we're gonna have to do quite a bit of stretching and changing down here, which is fine. Have to play with it a little bit. Get a little bit warped at first, but you always have to break stuff before you can fix it, it seems like in 3D. At least I do. I always have to break everything before I can fix it. Alright, let me slide this back as well. I think that'll help a lot. Getting that to feel correct there. Do some rotating. And, whoa, that was weird. We'll rotate on the wrist a little bit too. All right, I think we're almost there. And as you can see back here, we're starting to warp and break this. So let's do a little bit of some corrective measures. Have you tried sculpting in Blender 2.8? I have not. I do have Blender 2.8 though, and I use it for a lot of rendering. I really like the cycles render. It's pretty cool, pretty fast, get some good results out of it. I also use Keyshot a lot for rendering. Between those two though, you can get some really awesome results. In terms of sculpting though, from everything that I've seen in the Blender toolset, it's just really not the same as what you can do in ZBrush. It doesn't really come close. There's a reason that ZBrush is the industry standard. I think as a free tool though, it's a good way to get your feet wet. Alright. I am going to pull out on my body a little bit more to try to get this to fit the shape that I'm seeing here a little bit more. All right, let's see, what else, what else? I'm gonna have to blend this arm eventually. I don't need to do that right this second though. Especially when we want to... Ooh, he's gonna need some help. Here, I'm gonna split these off, because it's really hard for me to work on these one at a time, and that one in the background's constantly getting in the way. I'll split those off and reconstruct the subdivision levels really fast. So now they're separate subtools. Easy enough. And I want to get a little bit of a better plane change around my wrist. It's just not a hit exactly where I want it to be. For those that are unfamiliar with a hit, or the idea of a hit or break, it's essentially the point at which a form or line turns. So if we're looking at this shape from the side, coming up around the wrist, hitting there, and then wrapping down and around the rest of the arm. So right about there is where that hit or break in the form is. So I've done some adjusting to make that more so the case, just because that's what I'm seeing in the 2D reference down there, or up there, I guess. Looks like the arm is also a bit more thick than what I have. I think a little bit of work on that would be good. Just make sure enough of that will be seen from our kind of hero view here. And then we can start working on getting some of those folds in the wrist, but let's take a look at our other hand, make sure we're kind of keeping everything at the same level of finish. I recommend, if you're getting to a point where you're working on one area for a very long time, just take a step back and make sure everything else is kind of at the same level. You don't want to, like if you're sculpting a face or something, you don't want this super polished, beautiful nose on top of like this blocky garbage mess. Just keep everything about the same level of finish. I think it'll help you out a lot so you can progress. And also, what I like about doing that is it gives you a minute to take a break from staring at one thing for so long. You get really kind of like stuck in the moment if you're sculpting in one area, or even drawing in one area for a long time. It's nice to move around, get a change of scenery. Sometimes you just need to like take a step away though. I think a lot of this could stand to be inflated, but I'm not sure if it needs to be on the bottom, outside. Just use a little bit more move back face masking and a little clay tubes through here. And we'll also have to mess with the elbow on this hand slash arm. I guess the elbow's not really on the hand, is it? Might want to get some more volume there. Let's leave it for now and we'll come back to it in a little bit. These things are like really just maybe bent quite a bit more than what I have right now. Sometimes things get cheated in 2D as well, and they're not always possible. I don't know if this is the case here or not yet, but play around with it a little bit longer and see if we can match a little bit closer. May Gomez says, sorry for the new question, not a problem, but what do you do to leave your model like that on the top right? To do that, all you have to do is drop it to your canvas. Actually, people do this on accident all the time. It's actually the first question that you see people post quite frequently. Like, here. Like, oh no, this is, so it's Shift S. If you press Shift S, it'll drop a snapshot of whatever you have currently as your active tool on your canvas. So you can use it to do screenshots like what I'm doing, or if you accidentally get out of edit mode, this is what people have happen a lot of the time. You get really confused and frustrated. So if you have this happening, all you have to do is click up here to go back into edit mode, and then go into layer and click on clear. You can click on clear, or you can do the default shortcut for that, which is Control N. I have a custom shortcut set up because Control N is something else for me. All right. Well, bam. There's our cute little pupper. So we've come a long way in our posing. How are we doing on time? Got a little bit longer here. So let's see, let's make sure we take care of as much of the big stuff as we possibly can. One thing that I would absolutely like to take care of is our ear, because we specifically broke this during the posing phase. So I said that we wanted to just kind of squish it and get it into the correct position, and then we'll correct it and fix it later. So let me show you guys how we can go about fixing something like this crazy ear up here. So let's just use our move brush a little bit to start positioning and fixing a lot of the stretching polys we got going on. And I'm just going to work on the ear by itself and use the pinch brush to tighten up and get a crisp, clean transition up top. And I'm just going to shape this up to what I'm seeing in the concept, so it's like kind of dipping in a little bit up top. I think we can get that. And we want to make sure that the hit is happening more out here on the corner of the ear. I'll have to transition that a little bit better. And I might even just split off part of this. It's like a separate mesh. It's really not a bad idea. Let's see. How would I do that? Maybe something like this. So the reason I've cut this at a lower res topology, hold on. That is beautiful. Oh my God. So the reason I've cut this at a lower resolution is so that I can step back up, delete my subdivision levels, split that off, and reconstruct my subdivs without any problems. So now I still have subdivision levels that I can work with in my head. Boop. And now I have my ear separated, and I can work on that separately. Now it's like a separate mesh up here that we can play with. I'm eventually going to merge the head into the neck, and to do that we'll have to Dynamesh and blend some of that geometry, so I'm not really connected to this topology at all. And even if I was, I could, stitch this back up, but we're not going to need to do that. I'm just going to Dynamesh this ear and continue to shape it up. Soda Cool. Overlay on Twitch for the image up there. I already showed off how to do that, but it even interacts with my lights. It is not an overlay, no. Unless you're talking about the actual image, that is the Spotlight tool in ZBrush, which is something a little bit different. Technology, it's crazy. It's all the software, all stuff that you can do here in ZBrush. Let's kind of fix this up a little bit. So, like coming up into the curve up here, kind of like bends at the last second. Like a straight and then a curve. Ooh, come back, please. Sweet. Alright. This is getting a little messy. Why Dynamesh instead of Sculptress Pro? Because I can't use Sculptress Pro with a lot of my brushes. A lot of my brushes utilize auto masking features, and I cannot. You can't use that with Sculptress Pro. Nobody can, not just me. Also. Sculptress Pro is really nice for making like big changes and getting an instant like testimation result, but for something like this, it's really not necessary. So that is why Dynamesh and not Sculptress Pro. Plus, Dynamesh fits really well into my workflow. I've been using it for a number of years. I do use Sculptress Pro from time to time, but it doesn't really like fit into my workflow in a nice way. At least not right now. I want to get a really... There we go. Started to get that surface to turn a lot more there. Feels a lot better. And let's get that hit more so out here on the edge. Start to get that turning. Same thing here. Also, another reason to not use, or to use decimation, or sorry, not decimation, to use Dynamesh over Sculptress Pro here, is because if you're working on something really thin, like an ear, you can't use auto masking features. So that means if you're using a brush to sculpt on your surface, you're going to have a lot of stuff like this happen, because you can't use backface masking, which is something that I use by default almost all the time. I think brushes should have backface masking on by default, and it should be something that you have to toggle off. Other than on the Move brush, of course, which is fine just the way it works, and then you could maybe toggle it on from time to time for certain things. But most brushes, I think, benefit greatly from having backface masking on at all times, and it is very rare that you need to turn it off. Alright, let's get a little bit more thin flowing down through here. This feels like awkwardly thick. Make sure I didn't miss anything there on my mask. Nothing better than sculpting for like an hour and then coming back to something and realizing that you completely warped something that you weren't even working on without realizing it because you accidentally masked something. Doom! Welcome back. How you doing? RD! How goes it, my main squeeze? My main RD? It has been a minute. Hail and well met, yes. Alright, so now all we have to do is much like with our leg is blend that little ear blend, ear transition, whatever you want to call it, into the rest of this, which really shouldn't be that hard. Probably just need to work on the color a little bit. Other than that, I think it's good. Ooh. The shape is a lot closer now, if anything. Just looking at this, it could maybe go over here a little bit more. And instead of the curve going this way, it should probably go out a little bit more. Convex instead of concave. Let's see, what else? Let's just try cleaning up the shape there. And fixing some of the poly paint. This is really messy, and I need to remesh this a little bit. Make sure that that is syncing up as good as we can get it. We don't have to spend a year on that though. Nice character development. Well, thank you. Yes. We just started posing an hour and a half ago, so we've gotten a lot done today. Alright, how's that feeling? Still seems like it's too shallow here. And just pull through here a little bit more. Do some quick dynameshing. Just getting too messy, too crazy. Not liking it. This type of geometry is really annoying to work with when you have these little corners. I didn't cut this very well. least it's easy to chop them off. Continue working. And I will not blend this into the face just yet because I still need to do some changes to the face, do some stuff for asim. The face isn't perfectly symmetrical, so there's also some things that I want to change. It's just like general proportions. Especially now that we have this in pose, it's a lot easier to tell where some of those mistakes are. So we'll be doing some of that. And then we can blend in the ear and the body and get everything synced back up. Let's go a little shorter for our ear. A little bit more that way. And yeah, I think that'll work. Obviously still messy, but we'll come back to that later. Let's take a look at what we got. All good in Doomland. Well, that's good to hear, man. Glad you're doing well. Let's see, got a couple materials messed up here. Alright, so in terms of the face, I think the eyes are too tall, not really rounded out enough. I think maybe we could just increase the roundness pretty much only on the sides. I think maybe a little bit for the bottom edge. I also think the eyelid transition is a little sharp, so I might soften that out. I don't know. I think it looks a little sharp to me. It might be something else, but that's at least what it looks like to me right now. So I'll play with that. See what else is really sticking out to us. I think my head might be a little too small still. After I make those proportional changes, I'll double check on that. But some things feel a little bit off there, proportionally. I have not lined up any of this for the character. I've been doing all of this by eye. I really like to do as much as I can for these kind of just personal projects by eye. I like to do as much by eye as I possibly can, just because it's really good practice and it's fun to do. It's really hard to do as well. That's why I try to do it as much as I can, so that I can see form better and be able to recreate stuff more accurately in the future. So some of that involves, you know, looking at negatives as well as positives. So there's no gap here like what I have right now, that little gapped spot in there. So I know that that's a combination of a few different things, like this leg is too long, so we had to shorten the other one, so we'll have to do that here as well probably. It's a combination of that and maybe just the position and angle of that leg, so maybe we can pull that forward a little bit more. And already that's starting to feel a lot better. Also, as we start to blend our leg into our body there, this will be, come on, select. This will be getting more thick through there, and I think that'll also help to cover that up. So I probably won't do a ton more to thicken that, at least right now. So looking at negatives, it's another thing that's really important. It's more so just really paying attention to your silhouette though. Something else that I'm kind of noticing in my head is where that poly paint separates. This is quite a bit different than what I have here. It's kind of like somewhere around here. Let me see if I can get this a little closer real quick from the front. I think that feels a bit better. And I'll probably like work on this transition as well. because this is still pretty tight and hard from when I blended that earlier on. So that might be something we can look at as well. Let's see. Try to do a better job here. I think looking at this, it obviously feels like the same character, but you don't want it to feel like the same character. You want it to be the same character as much as you can get it. I think, yeah, I think this could just stand to be blended so much more through here. It's just such a tight transition, and it's really not benefiting us in any way. Wish I would have noticed that more when I was in the neutral. Now I have to do it on both sides of the face, but that's okay. It's really not that big of a deal. And some asymmetry will do us good. Kinotastic, what's up? Welcome. He is a good shark pupper. Let's try, just get a little bit more rounded here. Alright, that's feeling a lot better to me. Beautiful. Alright, let's do the same thing over here really fast. Now that we know what we want to do, should go a little bit quicker. And yeah, let's just blend between that a little bit more. He's got that, his left cheek over here, it's raised up a bit more, so we'll probably think about that as we start to do some of the expression for asymmetry as well. So these are some important things we need to look for. What else? I don't know, I think that side of the face altogether looks raised up just a tiny bit more. It's more of just a problem of drawing it asymmetrically more so than anything. This really doesn't need to be perfect, but I'll just spend a little bit more time trying to get a nice curve through there. And I think that feels pretty good. So like I said, it definitely feels, I think that's a bit higher on this side than the other. It's maybe something that we can look at really quick here. I'm gonna save some of this for later, because we're kind of running out of time. Because we are running out of time, actually. We got about 10 minutes left here. If you guys have any last minute questions, probably a good time to get them in. I don't believe anybody else is streaming after me though, so we can maybe go a little bit longer. We don't have to tell Papa ZBrush. Nah, I don't think they mind. Alright, so a little bit of some asym stuff there in the face. I'll probably do a lot more. There's like some little tweaks and nudges that we can make to break up some of the form here. Especially in the jowl. None of this stuff is ever perfect, and honestly, it feels a little weird when it is for organic stuff. Even if it's just like some little nudges here and there. The other thing that I did want to get in here in the face was the kind of rounding here in the eyes, and then maybe softening the lid transition here, which feels just way too sharp right now. I'm not sure if I think I know what it is. It looks like it starts to blend out right about here. So remember I was talking about edge quality earlier, guys. You never want your edge to feel like it's the exact same. You never want your stroke to feel exactly the same for the entire length of that stroke. Well, I think that's what we have going on up here a little bit. So I'm going to fade some of this out. Try to get it a little bit tighter through here, or more so just the top, I think. I don't want to completely destroy this, but I do like this a lot more already than what we had before. So that's good. That's always good. Alright, let's fade up through here just a little bit more. And I still want to keep this hard line for the most part. And kind of like bevel it out a little, but I just want to transition that a little bit better. Let's take a step back here. That feels a lot better to me. It just transitions so much nicer, and it doesn't catch the light in this like really strong, awkward way to make it feel like there's this really awkward and strong shadow right there. I think that works a lot better. All right, let's repeat the process. Rethin Studios says, "Is this for production?" I'm not printing this or doing anything with this file. More of just doing it here on the stream as a demonstration and to answer questions and hang out and get some practice done. It would be cute to print out and put on my desk though. Pretty much the way I sculpt everything though is with, we just had a crash. Saw that coming. Pretty much the, ooh, we good? Yeah, we're good. Let me reload that back up. We got a recovered file, so we didn't really lose anything. Pretty much the way I sculpt everything is with physical production in mind, so kind of the way I've set this up is pretty close to it being ready for 3D printing. By the time I finish this, it wouldn't really be that much extra work to take it to a state where it could be 3D printed. Let me grab our recovered tool here. And we did not lose anything. We're all good. Love me that quick save feature. Saved my life a million times. The quick save, I remember back in the day, when you crashed, it wouldn't really like store a recovered file very well. It does it so much better now. I love it. If you guys are not updated to the most recent version of ZBrush, you absolutely should. a lot of new features and a lot of benefits like not crashing as often. And if you do happen to crash, you have a higher chance of getting that recovered file. A lot more stable version. We lost our reference image in our little screenshot up here. Plop them back up in the corner real quick. And let's see, I have a spotlight for this, I believe. Beautiful. All right, well, those eyes are feeling so much better to me. There's probably some more tweaking that we should do here. Make sure we're not getting too fast and loose. Whoops, come on. There we go. For these eyes, I was actually playing around with some different materials previously, but I ended up just kind of doing a manual painted highlight on that. Oftentimes for my eyes, I like to use that toy plastic material. Just fill that in really quick because you can get some really nice feeling eyes from here pretty quick. But like I said, the problem is that I'd like to get kind of the same highlight that I'm seeing there in the eyes. Try to represent that well. And if you don't have your light exactly where it's hitting, your eyes feel pretty dead. So that's why I have that kind of just manually painted on there right now. It just gets the job done and it kind of fits in where it needs to. They're kind of off a little bit now that I've messed with the shape of my eye a little bit more. So let's go back through and just repaint those on. Like around there. Actually a little egg shapey now that I look at them again. But that's okay. We'll just do something quick. Really just more of a placeholder than anything else. Adorable. All right. There's also maybe some more painting I would like to do in the face now that we're kind of on a little bit of a paint track here. Occasionally I will hand paint in shadows for certain objects like nostrils or like the bottom area of a character's chin or maybe around a brow. Oftentimes though it just feels very heavy-handed and it's really easy to overdo. So a lot of the time I try to avoid painting in highlights and shadows unless it really looks good. Most of the time though I just try to get the actual form to give me exactly what I want in terms of highlights and shadows. It's fun to experiment though from time to time, see what works, see what doesn't. I think if anything here in the nostril, I'll maybe get like a little bit of that going on. Not too much though. Maybe something like that. Trying to figure out what's going on here. I think my neck is poking through into my mouth, so that's fun. Here, let's fix that really quick. Turn off my tongue so I can see. Oh, yeah, that's great. It's exactly what I wanted. All right. We'll have to look at the back side here as well to make sure that we're blending that appropriately once we get to that stage. Definitely feels like he's got that chin tucked, so we've gotten a lot of these folds in there. We've really started to take a lot of this to the next level. I am digging it. We are getting there. So I think that's a really good kind of first pass on posing our character. Let me go ahead and open up the original from where we started here. think it's this one. Yes, yes it is. All right. So here is where we started just a couple hours ago, for those that are just joining us here at the end. And here is the pose that we have started. Well, we've got to turn our tongue back on. Here's our pose that we've started to work towards. If you guys are joining us here a little bit later, this will be posted over on YouTube within the next few days or so, so be on the lookout for that if you're joining us a little bit late. And all the other stuff that happens here gets put up on the Pixelogic channel. All the stuff that happens over on my stream gets put up on my YouTube channel as well, which is just youtube.com/Follygon. Again, the concept over here is by Lily BZ over on DeviantArt. If you just Google LILIBZ, all one word, you will find Lily's work. And she's got a ton of cute little critters just like this guy over there for you guys to check out. Other than that, I don't think we have any last-minute questions here. Rethin says that they make some stuff for minis as a hobby. Awesome. Yeah, I do stuff for physical production as well. Kinotastic says, will you have a dorsal fin or dorsal fin? I don't think so, because he's laying on his back and it will never be seen. It wouldn't be that hard to make a dorsal fin, so maybe that's something that we can do in the next stream if anybody is interested in the process for that. But yeah, other than that, click follow down below on the Pixelogic channel if you haven't already. And if you guys want to check out my stuff, just Google Follygon or check out that link somewhere up here on top of the screen. And then the only other thing I'll shout out is my Gumroad, which I'll share a link to here in chat. It's just gumroad.com/Follygon. I have a bunch of courses, tutorials, brushes, materials, base meshes, running out of fingers, all sorts of goodies on here that you guys can check out. I'd appreciate it greatly. And if you don't end up buying anything, I always appreciate a share for that link there. I don't pay anything to advertise, so it's only the good word of mouth of you beautiful people that helps me share that stuff. Again, you guys have a fantastic night. Nobody else is streaming after me, so the next person to be streaming here on the Pixo channel will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. PST. We got Mike Thompson. What is Mike Thompson doing? The Mike T Artworks illustration by the way of sculpture. Well, that sounds really cool. I will have to check that out as well. So hopefully I'll see you guys there tomorrow, 10 a.m. PST. And good night. Good night, everybody. Yes, absolutely. All right. I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.